You go.
Right, let's go.
Let's go, young boy.
So, me and Josh have known each other for 13 years.
About that, mate.
About that, which is a long time. And he messaged me the other day saying, do I want to do a podcast on mental health? He'd had a few beers, obviously.
More than a few.
More than a few. So I was like,
It was
yeah.
like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it was the Conor McGregor fight that was now. I thought that's why you would have been away.
I can't, no, yeah, it was, but I didn't watch it.
Oh, I watched it. I stayed up because it snowed.
Yes,
Didn't
it did. It was
Yeah.
fucking freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a quiz.
Yeah, so we thought it'd be a good little eye-opener, I guess, is it?
Well, I mean, it's more that's needed, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you need to talk, like, it's one of those taboo subjects that nobody talks about. And everyone kind of reflects on it when it's too late.
Yeah.
And it's more common than people actually think as well.
Yeah, I think as well, where we're from and that, we've got that, like a lot of mutual friends, and we both know a lot of people who have ended up killing themselves from having mental health issues as well, because they've spoken out too late, maybe.
Or not spoken up at all.
Or not spoken out at all, yeah.
Not spoken up at all.
They've left it too long, and it's just...
Yeah, and like again, it's a massive... when like you say, it's a massive issue, and it's more common. Everyone knows someone that's killed themselves,
Yeah.
or that has mental health issues. It's not uncommon anymore.
It's funny because when
it's one of those things that nobody talks about,
yeah,
especially men.
Yeah, it's definitely a less talked about subject in men, and I think when it's brought up in men feel a little bit embarrassed to talk about it, which they shouldn't.
No.
Like when you messaged me about it, I thought, like I know vaguely that you may have had some mental health issues in the past, but I didn't know much. Like I don't know much at all. And when you messaged, I was like, okay, so he wants to speak, and then we were like, should we do it? And you were like, oh, I don't know. And then we were like, no, if it helps one person, like it's good to talk about it.
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like you say, it needs talking about. It's about time. Like especially around here, nobody talks about it.
No one.
And people are like, for a fact, people are suffering.
Oh, and especially during the lockdown now, it's just made things a million times worse, isn't it? If you're struggling with your mental health, the lockdown has just added to it.
And it just
10,000.
And it's not just you can kind of get over the first one, and then I think I had a blip in November. I had my mental health suffered massively in November. I had 3 weeks where I was really shitty. But that was because of that fire break. That's what I'm attributing to. I can't think of anything otherwise. But it was due to the fact that it was kind of everything was kind of opening back up, and you didn't really. Although it was only 3 weeks, I kind of got back into a routine and.
Yeah, I think routine is a big thing as well. I think we're brought up in a society where we thrive on routine. We're made to have a routine, aren't we? We're made to go to school, then we're made to go to work, and then we're made to work until we're 60, 70, and then we retire, and then we have our own routine. Yeah, it's the norm. And then for it to be taken away, I think it's had a massive impact in that respect. People are like, what the hell do we do with our day?
Yeah, you're stuck, yeah.
What do you do, isn't it?
You're stuck in a social norm where you, like you say, you go to school, you go to uni. There's no... Uni's pushed on you massively.
Yeah.
You go to uni, then you save enough money for a mortgage. You
buy a house.
You buy a house.
You get married. You move out, and it's the life. Which is brilliant if it works for you. But when it's taken from under your feet, I think so drastically. And then if you're already suffering with your issues anyway, I think it's been really a really tough one. And when would you say that you started noticing that you had any sort of mental health problems or depression or anxiety?
So it was when I was travelling.
When it should have been probably like the happiest time of your life.
Yeah, so I still remember the 7th of December 2016. And it was really acute. So I woke up one day and I was fucked.
It's mad, isn't it? Yeah,
for want of a better word, I woke up. I wasn't even I'd gone out, so we'd been drinking, like, me and the boys, so we went on like a tour first. We did like a month's tour where we met up with like everybody else.
Yeah.
And then the plan was to go on our own, me and one of the boys. And yeah, we was 2.5 weeks in, and we had been kicking the beers, to be fair. Like minimum sleep, because you're like 6-7 hours on a bus, or you're on a night train, or either or. And then so we got to this place in Vietnam, Hoi An, and yeah, I went for a nap. I woke up and I was just, I had like a suicidal thought when I was sleeping.
It's crazy,
Yeah,
isn't
mad. So yeah, it started from there then. And
so when you had the thought, did it just, like you say, you had the thought, and then did it develop from that? So the thought.
I just couldn't get out to the lull. Yeah, I just couldn't get out to the thought. Like it never happened to me before. Until that moment, I thought it was a myth. I'll be the first person to say I thought it was an absolute myth. I thought, no way. I thought suicide was selfish. I thought it was like, I was one of the people that were just I was kind of old-fashioned, I guess.
Yeah, and it's very narrow-minded, I think, in this.
Especially now.
Yeah, especially now, but I was exactly the same as you. I thought, oh, for God's sake, like I've read books and I've spoken to people and they're like, I can't get out of bed. And I had a moment a couple of months ago where I actually couldn't get out of bed. My mum pretty much had to physically drag me out of bed. I couldn't get out of bed. And I used to think, don't be so stupid, like just get out of bed. I couldn't get out of bed.
No.
And I felt like I was like stuck to the bed.
Yeah, but you don't know until it happens to
until
you.
Until it happens, no.
You can, like you say, someone can tell you over and over again.
Yeah.
That this is happening to me, but you're not gonna.
You don't understand.
You can empathise with it.
Yeah.
But you don't know. You don't know yourself. You don't know the situation. But yeah, that's when it started. Was when I was travelling. So, and then obviously, it's the persona that I had to keep up. Then I built the persona. I was meant to be having the time of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I built it up, and I was at the part where I was supposed to be most happy. I was the saddest I'd ever been.
And I think when people know you as well, because I've known you for a long time, and like you know me, we're always very like bubbly, both of us, outgoing people. We like to do what we like to do, and I think it's when people go, oh, you're so happy all the time, and you're like, you don't know anything. Especially with my job, I'm on show a lot. I can't go into work feeling rubbish. I'm there for people to feel rubbish to me, sort of thing. And then I go into work and people are like, oh, you're so happy, and you go home and you're like, I'm not.
Yeah, and that's another issue. That's another issue, is that people like I said, you've got a persona.
Yeah.
You've got this persona that people hold you to.
Yeah.
People hold you to this pedestal.
Yeah.
That isn't always correct.
Yeah.
It's not always. I'm not always that person.
Yeah.
Granted, sometimes I am. Yeah. But sometimes you're not, and it's.
No.
I think it's naive for people to think that you are as well.
Yeah.
Like.
We're all human.
We're all human. We're all every single person is, at some point in their life, is going to have down days or down moments. It's inevitable. Like, so to think that everyone 100% of the time is happy is foolish.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. It's like you say, because it's not talked about enough. I just don't think people realise. I think when you get a bit of depression or anxiety or anything like that, that's it. You're depressed.
Yeah, no.
And that's it. No, you're sort of right off, and you're like, oh, they're depressed. That's it. And it's not.
No,
you can have the best day, and then the next day you can be like, there is a cloud, and it is fun. Like, it is an old saying, but there's this cloud, isn't it, above your head that
it's just dull.
You can see everyone else's happiness, but when it comes to your own and the things you've got going for you, you can't see it.
It's not even happy and sad either. Sometimes it's just a lull. Sometimes it's just you're just floating through life.
Yeah, yeah.
you don't feel anything.
Yeah.
You just, the things that should make you happy are not, and the things that make you sad are not. You're just stuck.
Yeah.
You're just there.
I had my son. I was 19 when I had Tommy, and I remember after I had him, for me, I think obviously the hormones and that, I wouldn't say postnatal depression, but the hormones contributed to maybe the anxious side of me. And I was I'd say I was probably quite bad then, and I felt like you were just saying, like, numb. Like, I should have been enjoying this baby.
Should have been the best time of your life.
It should have been the best time.
Yeah,
and I was just numb. I couldn't. And then I had my daughter, and I was way worse after my daughter, so I started suffering with severe panic attacks, and they were horrific, where I couldn't do anything. and they'd come. I think I had one in the middle of the night one time, and then they would come in like every day. But they were like, I'd go freezing cold. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get up, and I had a newborn baby and a 2-year-old to look after. So scary. I was like, these are crippling me. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And again, I used to think panic attacks. I'd be like, oh, be silly. I had one. I was like, I actually think I might be dying.
Yeah.
Like it's that severe, isn't it? Like my heart felt like it was being ripped out of my chest. And I think
it's scary.
It's the scariest thing ever, right? Again.
But it's something you can't see.
Yeah, it's invisible.
So nobody thinks about it.
So no one thinks that there's an issue with it. And what would you say, like, your thought process is with it all now? Like, how would you say, how do you look at it now? How do you look at it? Well, I guess you're more open-minded because it's happened to you, isn't it?
No, yeah, definitely more open-minded.
That was a really vague question.
Yeah, no, sorry. I've learned to deal with it. But again, that comes with experience.
Yeah.
It's scary at the start. Of course it is. Like, nobody wants to have the thought.
The thought.
Especially when you initially get it, like, whoa.
What was that?
Well, yeah. And why? Like, for me, it was why.
That was a massive thing for me.
Why am I feeling this? Because it was so acute as well, because it was night and day, basically. It was one day I was fine, one day I was like, Josh, you're having the time of your life.
Yeah.
Like, I was actually having a really good time.
Yeah.
I was
all
was
the
so
things
good.
that should be in your favour for you to feel the best you can.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you feel the complete opposite.
I'd saved for years.
Yeah, I remember you saving to go travelling.
I talked about it for about 3-4 years before I'd even gone.
Yeah.
And then I had the opportunity. I was contracting, so I was getting paid quite well in the first contract that I did. So that gave me the opportunity to save more than I would have if I'd have had a different job. And yeah, we were doing, like, we had these silly good things planned. Everything was going well. I was enjoying the booze. I was enjoying swigging. I was enjoying
just having what you were doing, what you should have been doing. Yeah. And what you planned to do.
And then all of a sudden, this kind of the rug is pulled from under your feet, and you're in a completely different headspace.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had to live up to a persona then.
Yeah, and you had to keep going, I suppose. Yeah, because you're not even near home.
Yeah, and like I said, I was with one of the boys. I couldn't speak to him. That on me.
Yeah, Nothing to do with him.
It wasn't nothing to do with him. And to this day, I still haven't told him.
Yeah.
Like, he still thinks, because obviously.
Oh, you were just a bit of a miserable bastard.
Well, no, I don't even think. I think I hid it quite well.
Yeah.
When I was with him, I think I hid it really well.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was. I kind of got into a mentality where if I keep doing this, then it'll go.
Yeah. Because I think I've always been. It's the way in a way the way you're brought up as well. I guess like you've just got to get on with things, which I'm a firm believer in. Yes, you do. But if you don't address a problem, it gets worse. And I think for me, I never addressed any of these issues, and it got so much worse.
And I think we notoriously put timelines on things.
Yeah.
Where in 6 months' time I'll be here.
Yeah.
In 5 months' time I'll be here. In 3 months' time I'll be here. And then when you're not, that makes you sad anyway.
Yeah. And our generation as well. I was saying, like, my mum and dad, they are quite old-fashioned. They've been very good with me, but they're still very set, and they're like, come on, you can do it, get up, get going, do this, do that. But we're brought up in such a different way, like social media, the effect social media. Like, when they were growing up, they were literally in the trees, climbing the trees, on their bikes, and that was it.
And we got some of that.
We had half of that, didn't we? Whereas as we went into, like, adulthood, it was social media, and now I go on Instagram and it completely ruins my day.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't allow it to, but it's that comparison. Of I feel like we're expected to. People say you don't have to achieve this, but in your head, the pressure is on, isn't it, these days?
I think it depends on who you follow and who you allow yourself to see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely social media. Social media has had a massive impact on everything.
Yeah.
And if you allow it to, if you allow it to kind of take hold of you,
yeah.
then it will.
Yeah.
Of course it will. If you're following influencers that are in Dubai all the time while
Yeah.
you're stuck in fucking lockdown,
Yeah.
you're gonna be pissed off. If you follow
Yeah.
someone that's aesthetically got a six pack and
you
everything else, and you haven't.
Yeah.
Even though even though you've been to the gym for 2 years, then you're
Yeah.
comparing. You're like, why is that? You don't see the background where
Yeah.
they're jabbing tests for 1 minute to themselves,
Yeah.
or they kind of
Or it's
they're
their
having
life.
they're having to do some. They have to do an ad for $2,000 where they don't even want
Yeah.
to do it. They don't even believe in it. It's the background things that you don't see, but you ought to.
But
You see that one photo
Yeah.
that they've put up,
And then you think, wow.
and you think, that's mad.
Yeah.
How is he looking like that? You don't. And granted, they've probably gone to the gym for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm just using the gym as an example.
Yeah.
But you
It's
can
like everything, isn't it? You see them with flashy cars. You don't know the deck that goes on behind that.
no, exactly. You don't know. You don't know their clan of it.
Yeah.
You
You
don't.
just don't
yeah.
know. And I think because we're
Someone's
brought
driving.
up,
Someone's driving a range with a Gucci t-shirt on, like
yeah.
doing that, but you don't know this.
And I'm sitting in my house in Son with my van on the drive thinking,
they've had to
shit.
take out credit card after credit card. You don't see it. You just, like you say, you just see that, and then you put them on a pedestal and think, why am I not like that?
Yeah, and that comparison then steals away the joy, and I think that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think is a
comparison.
So-
There's a saying in that.
yeah. I think it might be the James Smith thing, and it's comparison is the thief of joy, and it's so true. If you compare yourself, you will take away all of your own joy, and I think where we are social media wise now, it's so important to just keep grounding yourself. Like I'll take social media breaks all the time because I think it's such a good thing to have. But when it comes to depression, anxiety, eating disorders,
body
Rocket.
dysmorphia,
anything like that, it just causes absolute hell. And that's speaking from someone like you who has experienced that. And I do, you know, I would say it contributes a lot to it. Like it's,
massively.
for me, I think that was one of the main things as well. It's suffering with like body image, and then for women, that you're expected to look a certain way, and now you're expected to have this big bum and these thick legs. And
that's another one.
a
You don't
toned
realise how much money
stomach.
they've spent on it.
Yeah, and then you just think,
Or they're getting it for free.
Yeah.
Someone's going, come here, we'll pay.
we'll sort it out, and you
do an ad.
advertise, And then you're comparing yourself to them, and you're thinking, why is my life not like theirs, and why can't my life be like theirs?
Yeah.
And that will also, it's obviously not the root of why people start getting depression or have depression or anxiety now, but it fuels a fire, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think
it doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't help
help.
at all.
It's a good tool. Like, granted, it's
amazing for a lot of things.
It's a very good tool for some things, but it's the devil for other things.
Yeah, 100%. What would you say about alcohol with depression? Would you say that triggers your depression, or
it definitely makes me feel worse the next day? Well, it depends. If I have a heavy night, and if I start doing like shots, like it's the shots more than anything.
The like spirits and things like that. They tend
if I just stick to lager and stuff,
you feel.
I feel like I have a hangover, but I don't feel down.
Don't feel down.
No. But yeah, for a long time, like when it first started, it was kind of drinking to get away from it.
Yeah.
It was.
That's what I used to do. Have a drink because it would just numb it even more.
But then you just going on a cycle. I did 3 months traveling. Well, no, I did 6 months traveling, but for 3 of the months when I was with my friend, we drank every day basically.
Yeah.
Part of it was because I wanted to drink, but part of it was the persona. You built the persona. I built up a persona to the people I was with then.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just kind of living up to the persona
of
back home. It was living up to the persona of these.
You created a new person.
Thinking about it now, these 20 strangers that I met 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you feel like you have to be the person that they
all
want
of a
to see.
sudden, we've drunk for 2 weeks now, before the depression started, and now I have to keep going.
Yeah, I have to be the person I've created.
Yeah.
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 It's crazy, isn't it? When you think of it like that, it's such a. Again, it's quite sad, isn't it? That you feel like you should have to be this person that you're not, because you can't feel comfortable to be like, boy, and like I say, it's not your friend's fault, because if you had spoke, they probably would have been so understanding.
Yeah.
But you just feel like you
can't. 1,000,000% me, yeah.
You just can't tell people.
I was the generic boy.
Yeah.
I was
you've
a
been a
generic
lad.
I was the generic boy that couldn't speak to my mates.
Yeah.
No matter how bad it got. It got to the point where it got so bad, right? So this is when so we were about 3.5 months in, and it was getting quite bad, and I wasn't sleeping that much. I was on the phone, I was just on my phone, just chilling in hostels. And I'd met a girl when she was on the groupers with us.
Yeah.
And we'd we weren't together, but we'd started seeing each other, and the depression wasn't as bad when I was with her.
Because it was just, do you find that was more of a distraction? And it was safe.
It was safe. She was safe. It was, I don't know. It was safe, and it probably was a distraction. It was company kind of, not in the friend kind of way. It was more romantic,
more intimate, and someone you could confide in a little bit more.
Yeah. So it got to the point where I was like, I've got to go. I've got to go and see her, because it's getting so bad now that it's just consuming me.
Yeah.
So I literally booked a flight for the next day. Left my mate. He still thinks to this day he just thinks,
you dumped me for a girl.
Yeah. Yeah. He thinks that he doesn't know the back.
Before hose.
Yeah. No, it was. He thinks I just left him.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. If I had my way, that didn't happen. I would have stayed with him the whole time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But we planned it. That's what we was going to do.
Yeah.
And that was 100% my thought pattern going into it.
Yeah.
It just didn't pan out that way.
No, and it doesn't. I think that again with life, it doesn't, and it tends to throw you these curveballs. You think, shit, I wasn't expecting that. That feels like my whole life.
Yeah.
I feel like when something happens really, really good, bang, I'm like, shit, for God's sake, that's how I feel. It just hits me, like you say. It just hits. Someone will just hit me straight away, and then I'm the worst person for it. Instead of dealing with it, I throw myself into something. So I exercise insanely. So I'll just be I'm shredded for 3 weeks.
Just to take your mind off
it. To take my mind off it. Or I throw myself into ridiculous relationships that never work. To take my mind off it. I'm very impulsive.
Well, that's what I did. This girl was Irish. This girl was I was.
Oh, I bet she was lovely.
No.
Yeah.
She was lovely, and I thank her deeply, because I wouldn't change it for the world, because she got me through some of the toughest times in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah. It was thinking back, it was never going to work.
Yeah.
It was never ever going to work unless we stayed in Australia, which we were going to try. But realistically, when we came home, it was that was it.
Yeah.
It was never going to work. We were from completely different places.
Yeah, and backgrounds probably. It was just that mutual place that you were in at the same time, where you were like, oh, this could work. You're feeling a certain way. You found someone who understands to a certain extent as well, and you put everything into it. That's right.
Yeah.
I tend to do. I'll find something that, when my daughter was 2 weeks old, I opened my own salon. She was 2 weeks old. I was painting walls with a baby in a sling because not eating. My anxiety was so bad. I was having panic attacks all the time, and I'm there painting walls at 9 o'clock at night with a newborn baby. And my mum would look after Tommy, or he'd go with his dad, and that's what I did, and that's how I distracted myself. And I constantly do it. I throw myself into something that is completely ridiculous, and it's something I can't take on realistically, or in the long term it's not going to last, because I think it's a distraction for now. For me, the fitness is a massive distraction. When I'm really lean and really skinny, it's usually because I'm having a really bad time. And exercise, I'll just focus on my body and it'll get me away from it, rather than addressing the root of the problem. Which is
what I used to do.
Yeah.
Until I started seeing a counsellor, I was exactly the same. I used to do it was throw yourself into something, keep yourself busy, try and do something. It was, but now it's more address it.
Yeah.
I find myself addressing it more now, facing up to it, and
which is harder.
Of course it is, because you don't want to be in that place.
You don't want to do it.
You don't want to be in that place. Of course you don't. You don't want to be in your thoughts, trying to face your thoughts face on.
Yeah.
Of course you don't. But you learn different techniques over time. Yeah. You learn your coping mechanisms. You learn how to deal with it to an extent. You learn to mitigate it.
Yeah.
If it's not gonna be gone, then you learn to mitigate it.
Yeah.
And that's all you can really do. You can't do it. You do the best you can, don't you?
With the lockdown, it's made me, obviously I have nothing to do apart from look after the kids, which obviously keeps me very occupied. But it's so much time to think.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why we're struggling so much during this lockdown is because all of a sudden, all these problems that we were all hiding, we now have to think about them.
They're all at the forefront now.
They're all here, and you're like, oh my God, I just want to go and do a 12-hour day in work so I don't have to think about this stupid issue that I have.
Yeah.
And for me, I work silly hours, and I love my job, and I love what I do. But I also, again, use it to hide what is really going on. And I think so many people do it, and this, especially with the lockdown now, it's probably heightened so many people's like anxiety and depression, because they're like, oh my God, I have to address it now. And they don't know how to address it. They don't have coping mechanisms.
That's normal. That's
100%. Yeah.
If you had coping mechanism for something that you don't know, you
don't even know
that. Well, you probably, you don't know you've got.
I wouldn't say I knew I had any sort of body dysmorphia or eating issues, or I'd say depression or anxiety, until I read about it. Like, I actually thought that the way my brain worked was just how everyone else's brain worked, so why would I question it?
Yeah.
Even though I used to think, like, even now I have crazy irrational thoughts all the time of just people dying. I can't stop thinking about people dying. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous. I don't let it consume me because it has before. But I don't know. When I was younger, I didn't know that wasn't normal. I just thought that's how the brain worked.
Yeah.
I thought maybe everyone thinks like someone's going to die when they walk into school, or like it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's completely irrational. But how am I to know? Because I've never spoken about it.
And it's not spoken about.
So how would I know that is not?
If you break your leg, someone speaks about how to get better.
Yeah.
If you break your arm, speak about how to get better. There's mechanisms in place to get you better. You wear a cast. You do physio.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
No, I completely
Nobody
agree.
knows.
Do you know what? I don't even know of a place around here where I could personally say I could go. Do you know of anywhere? Like if I was like really mentally struggling, if I could go and speak to someone, or it's all I know is private paid counselling.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
I know private.
I don't know if there's.
So when it first started, so I self-diagnosed first, right? So
Google.
I knew I was getting thoughts, so I said, this is not this is not normal. But even then, speaking to a doctor, you realise how normal it is.
Yeah.
They reckon 1 in 8 people through their life will have suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
1 in 8.
Yeah, I know.
That's mental.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy, and to have those thoughts and to
but you automatically think that you're the fucking crazy one.
Yeah.
You're like, what's going on?
Again, because it's not spoken about, and to see the amount of people that we know that have sadly taken their own lives, I think for me it's got to a point where I'm like, I need to speak up, and we need to do something about this.
Oh yeah.
We live in such a small area, and I can pick out 5 people that we know that have taken their own lives, and they haven't spoken out.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue.
And maybe if someone said 1 in 8 people feel like you do right now, and depression probably affects like 1 in 4 in life.
Well, they reckon, so men 18 to 45, suicide is the biggest killer. And they reckon, it's something like 1 in 4. 1 in 4 will struggle with a mental illness, whatever it is.
And if we all sat down and we said that these are the statistics, this is how it is, they may think I'm not alone.
You just need to start a conversation.
Yeah.
That's the starting point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Start a conversation with your mates. Boys, you alright?
Yeah.
Girls, how are you feeling? They don't have to. You're asking them then, and you'll be surprised how many people actually just kind of tell you.
Yeah.
They'll say, right, I'm not having a good time at the minute.
Yeah.
For me personally, I took it off my own back.
You make me laugh because I always feel like I know what's coming. Because you are very impulsive like me, and you just come up with these ridiculous stories.
So I was really struggling at one point. So I'd come home, and it had been about 2 months in, I think. No, maybe. So about 4 months. So the Irish girl had come here to live. Didn't work.
I think I remember this.
Yeah, so she came into work. Live. She lasted about a week because obviously she didn't have a job, which is going to happen when you move countries. So it was about 2 months after, like, I'd been struggling. Wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, like, I was in a bad place. So I thought, I did the typical thing. I tell you what I'll do, I'll book a flight to Ireland for tomorrow and I'll go see her.
As you do.
So I did that, and that was she was the first person I told. We just, like, gone for a walk, and I told her, like, I'm struggling, and she was quite supportive, to be fair. But then, and that's when I told Mum and Dad then. So I rang Mum and Dad. Impeccable timing. They were going to Vegas the next day.
As you do, innit? Let's just ruin their holiday.
Yeah. So yeah. So you just. What would
you say your parents' reaction was? Were they shocked?
Well, Mum suffered all through her life anyway.
Yeah.
I think it was I don't think she suffered all through her life. I think it was when she had Louise.
Yeah.
I think.
Trust Louise too.
Yeah.
Ruin it.
Start it off.
Start it off.
But she's medicated, like.
Yeah.
But Dad.
You say she's medicated like she's crazy. She's lovely.
Yeah, no, she is lovely.
She's fine. Poor Darren. He's gonna hate you for that comment.
Sod, Mum. So she takes antidepressants.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dad. So I told my nan Mitchell first.
Yeah.
She's worked in mental health all
yeah.
She's been a mental health nurse. She's got the residential. I went there. So it was easier to speak to her, kind of thing.
A bit more common ground because she's.
But I told Mum. I didn't really speak to Dad about it.
Again, it's funny how you speak to the mum because she's the woman, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's harder to speak to the man about it. Because I do find that most people tend to confide, even when men do speak up, they tend to confide in women first, which is what you've done. You confided in that girl first before you thought, wait a minute, I need to tell someone else and get some help. Yeah.
I think it was just, she was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
It got to breaking point. It was like, you have to tell someone.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to fuck yourself up.
Yeah.
So I went out, told her, and then came home the next day.
So you flew to Ireland?
I planned to stay there for 2 weeks. But I was like, I don't want to be here now, I just want to go home. So you flew there to tell her, well, not to tell her, but to see her, and then told her, and then flew home. It's mad, isn't it? How the mind, like say you planned to go. As soon as I told her, as soon as I told my parents, it was a massive weight off my shoulder.
Yeah.
Mental.
That relief, isn't there, of like, wow, I didn't realise, for me, I didn't realise how bad it felt, and now I've spoken about it, I feel so much better.
It normalises it as well. It normalises it. You feel like you're keeping a dirty little secret.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't tell anyone.
Yeah, like you feel like you shouldn't talk about it, and I still feel like I'm very lucky. I've got good friends who talk about their mental health and who have all suffered with their mental health, and I feel like I can speak a lot more openly now. But when I was growing up, I didn't feel like I could speak to anyone, and again, that's not my mum or dad or sister's fault or any of the family's fault. No. I just didn't feel like I just didn't need to. I needed to, but I didn't need to.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I can keep this a secret. I can just get on with it.
Yeah.
And
then there'll come a point where it's fine.
Yeah, and it'll just end, and then 10 years down the line,
you're
still suffering with the same things you were suffering at 16.
Yeah.
And you're like, why didn't I speak about it sooner? Why didn't I even do more research on it sooner? Like, I've always researched a lot of stuff, and I think I found a lot of common ground then, because I'm like, oh, I'm not on my own. Yeah. Someone has just described to me how I feel. There's one other person in this world who knows how I feel, just from reading that Google quote, you know. But yeah, I just felt like, again, like I say, through no one else's fault, but I never felt like I could really speak. And I'd say the last year or so, and it's from the lockdowns, I started getting therapy, probably speaking to people openly about it, and now I feel like I can speak to people. Like we've never spoken about it, but I feel like I can speak to you about it, because you know how I feel, and you're telling me, so it's just a mutual point, isn't it, where you can speak.
Yeah, and like you say, that's the most important thing. The most important thing is speaking. As soon you don't realise how much better you feel once you speak to, even if you can't speak to your parents or someone else, speak to someone.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it'll knock at least 60% of how you're feeling.
Yeah.
The weight of what you're feeling off your
My
shoulder.
mum used to say a problem shared is a problem halved. And it's so true, isn't it? Like, even though I couldn't tell her at the time, now I think when I tell her stuff, which I know she hates me for telling her some stuff sometimes, I feel so much better from just telling her. And my friend Nia, she's like, I tell her everything and I just feel so much better just from, it can be something really small, but if you don't address it, it triggers off a million other things, doesn't it? And that's
it's a snowball. It's just a snowball effect.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. I'm glad we've done this. Is there anything else you want to cover while we're chatting?
No, I'm alright.
I think after we've done everything that I sort of pointed down.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've just done it because we think that people, as we've said, need to speak about it a bit more, and
especially in a minute. Especially
now with the lockdown, when you feel like you don't have people, you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think when you messaged me, I was like, oh, I haven't seen you for months and months and months, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to speak about this.
Yeah, no, it was what I've been on about for ages, but it's kind of taking that step, and it's just sitting there. It's not admitting to yourself, because you already know. And my mates know, like all the boys that I'm really close with know the situation. My mum knows. My dad knows. Everyone that's important in my life knows. It's just kind of putting yourself out there for the wider audience.
Yeah, definitely. And to get, if this does, even if, like we said, if this helps one person, but it would be lovely. It'd be lovely if it just. If people could even watch like 10 minutes of it and think, oh my god, I'm not.
Loads,
yeah, we have rambled. Like talked. Wait, what were we? 36 minutes. No, I think it'll be
quite
good.
Quickly for that.
Yeah, 36 minutes.
You've got this far, well done.
Yeah. If you watch to this point, right?
You deserve.
Yeah, you need to comment about this if you've made it to this point. So it was good. There we go.
Enjoyed
Amazing.
That is.